I said, like, are you happy to be able to get out? Because even last time I was a little
I'd like to reconvene the July
She's making a lot of money.
Board of Education.
Mr. Staples. Present. Ms. Mount. Mr. Kelleher. Here. Mrs. Servant here. Ms. Winkler. Mrs. P.
All right, join me face the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for coming out. This is very hot. Maybe it's the air conditioning because it's pretty cool here. Maybe it's the air conditioning brought everybody out today. I have to pay for it at home or something. But it is good to see people out here tonight. Thanks for coming. My report tonight obviously will be very short because we're not in school anymore. But I would like to thank some people for the graduation ceremonies that we had last month. Very, very well. Ms. Mount, for speaking for the middle school, and for the high school speeches, they went very well. Other than the tic-tac issues, the rest of it went pretty smoothly, and even that, really cared. All right, going through, but it was very nicely attended. It was a nice weather. It was a little hot for the middle school, but it cooled off pretty good for the high school. So we did appreciate everyone coming out and supporting the families there. We wish, of course, our seniors the best luck as they go on to, if they're putting their lives on hold, joining the military, going into the military, those going into trades, higher education, whichever direction they deem that their life needs to go. We do wish them the best going forward. We also wish the best for our 8th graders moving up into high school. I have a granddaughter moving up in 8th grade in the high school this year, so I'm personally involved in that national nonetheless. So we do wish them good luck as well. We have been busy over the summer. As you can see the agenda. People move on, people retire, people take other places. We have quite a few positions on our agenda we're moving later on. And away we go. It's July 1st, we start our new year. So here we are. All right. Mr. Bernardo, can you share your report from there?
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right. I apologize for being home. I am quarantined with COVID. I'm going to try to keep this really short. But also, I just want to thank everybody for a successful closeout of the school year. As Mr. Pete had said, graduation ceremonies were incredible. I concur, a little hot for the middle school. We need to get a tent maybe for the earlier ceremony. But both ceremonies were absolutely beautiful. Speeches, everything. Thank you. Congratulations to Mrs. Mount, our new vice president. Looking forward to working closely with you. Our summer programs have begun. We have our extended school year program happening at Ridgeway Elementary School, at the middle school and the high school. And then we also have several Jumpstart programs happening across the district. Thank you to our transportation department for making that happen, for the teachers and staff, administration, just orchestrating all of that to really make all of our programs happen. We were a little worried, but we were able to make it happen. So a big thank you for that. To the Board of Education, I did email you some orientation dates. You can add them to your calendar along with the back to school nights. I've asked for Mr. Roberts to put that up on our website, on our district calendar, so that way everybody's aware of the orientation times and dates, as well as the back to school nights, so that way they don't conflict with your own children. Our board retreat, right now we're looking to do it on Monday, August 29th. I know Mr. Lorenzen had sent out an email asking if a 3 p.m. start time would be okay with everyone. Does anybody have any objections to starting that at 3 p.m. on August 29th?
So John, I think Laura can do it, and I think George may or may not, depending on when his son has to move into school. How's everybody else? Otherwise, everybody else is good. Yeah, it's 10.
Okay, all right, great. So we'll leave that as is, and then just keep us updated. And then the other thing that we were looking to do our board training, we were able to secure the date of October 20th. Our board meeting is October 19th. So we were hoping to possibly change our Board of Education date from the 19th to the 20th. And we would start around 3:30 if everybody would be available, so that way we could do the training which is about 2 hours with New Jersey school boards. We take a brief break, and then we would start executive at 6 o'clock.
I have to look at my school calendar, like I can't.
All right, so here's what I'll send it in an email, and then if everybody can just reply separately, letting me know if that's okay. But school boards was able to hold that date for us. And then the last thing that I have for the board is just a reminder, our student representative, we're going to be working with the Student Government Association to develop that calendar, and they're going to rejoin us again at our September meeting. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, just a couple of quick agenda items. You'll see on the agenda, we are asking for another withdrawal from our reserve. One of the projects that we're looking at that was not in the budget is we built a pole barn last year at the high school. It's essentially our new maintenance shed. It needs to be insulated before the winter, or otherwise those guys will be freezing. So that's one of the things. And the other one, this one's kind of a little more of an expensive one, was as we do every summer, we obviously do maintenance in our buildings and some things. We were changing out some fixtures in the 5th grade wing, Ridgeway, girls and boys bathrooms there, and the pipes were literally disintegrating. So we're gonna have to replace all the piping in the walls there for about 14 fixtures, that's in both bathrooms. Again, this is not something that was planned for in the budget, so we're requesting those funds to be pulled out of our maintenance reserve to get that. There's a resolution on the agenda to approve a project submission. This is a project that we are running through our ESSER 2 and ESSER ARP grants. The primary focus of this project is replacing HVAC that we did not address with our previous referendums, replacing windows at Ridgeway, and doing some exterior door replacement. This all kind of ties into indoor air quality. So we need permission from the board to submit that project to the DOE for approval. And then the last thing, and this is just an informational thing, we sat in on a meeting last week with the state to discuss the school employee health benefit program, which is what we participate in for our health insurance. The last several years, we've had some pretty reasonable renewals. At this point, it does sound like we could be looking at a double-digit renewal. Some of the numbers they were throwing out there were like a net 15% increase. There is a meeting scheduled for the 25th. I'm hoping that between that meeting and this one, maybe tweak this a little bit, but we could be looking at a fairly substantial increase in our health benefits. So
How much are we budgeting?
about 8.5. Right now, it is. Okay, that's it. Yeah, we should know. I believe the 25th is when they were going to provide the final numbers. That's my report.
Thank you. All right, back to our agenda here. Any board member reports?
Yes, I'll be quick. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Page, our said middle school and high school graduations were great. Nice to be part of them, and to see all the kids graduating and see future full of people. It's also nice dropping my daughter off, not really at 7 a.m., but seeing all the high school sports starting bright and early. It seems like they have a lot of participation. Hopefully it stays that way. And I also want to say the middle school programs, like the Genius Hour and the STEM programs are successful. My daughter attends the STEM program. I make a Lego robot. It's a nice way to get kids, especially going into 6th grade, used to the middle school. So good job with that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor to public participation on agenda items only. Have any questions? Oh, Mr. Staples. I'll come. Okay. Did you go green?
Let's go green.
Yeah, it's green.
Good. Okay. Dan Staples, Manchester Township Education Association President. I rise in opposition to two items that are on the agenda. The first one is Section 2B Personnel, number 11. Give everybody a second to get on the page.
Number 11.
Yep, number 11. That's the hire. Are we good? That's going to be the hire for the new position, confidential secretary to the superintendent. I spoke to the superintendent this morning. I'm told that position was posted internally. To my knowledge, that's different than having it posted to everybody. I think along the lines of EEO, equal employment opportunity, especially we strive for diversity within our district and we strive to get a wide applicant base. If everybody didn't get a chance to apply for that job, then I would encourage you to table that or vote no on that until it's been posted for everybody. Am I good? Thank you. Sorry.
I feel like I'm at a rock concert for 7 minutes.
Yeah, no, I was going to start thinking about it. So
I think I remember those. Miss Ronnie, you remember those?
Basically, there's a couple items at play, and this ties into my other issue. Is there's this new position, the receptionist position, the way that it was explained to me on June 26th, we had a phone call, or 7th, whatever, it was the Monday after graduation, that the idea was that the receptionist, there was a feeling that this person gets paid a lot of money to essentially just answer phones. That's not what the receptionist does or has done. We've had a receptionist through multiple superintendents that does a fantastic job, that greets people when they come in, that does answer the phones. There is that human touch. It's part of what makes Manchester great. There's always been clerical jobs up at the board office that are MTA positions, and the reason why they've always been there is because most clerical work is covered under our recognition clause. The exception to that would be confidential work. And the statutory definition of confidential is directly dealing with the superintendent or business administrator. Those positions are automatically confidential by statute, and anything that deals with negotiations. So we have a bunch of confidential positions in a confidential unit in our district that honestly we've never made a deal of because it's been handled through various means, including litigation over the years, and we kind of leave things alone. There's a secretary to buildings and grounds, and that was a confidential position, and we had language in our contract that when Betty retired, it would be replaced and returned to an MTK position. When we bargained our last contract with Mr. Treadway and Mr. Lorenzen, we agreed through the bargaining process to allow that position to remain confidential, and then I believe Ms. Rouse got hired into the job. But we bargained that. That wasn't something that was imposed upon us by administration. That was a negotiation. So when I got the job description for this confidential assistant to the superintendent, I had a couple reactions. One was, why does the superintendent need 2 secretaries? Our district is like the Marine Corps. We want to lean on administrators. If we add another administrative position, that's a big deal. We're a district that does a lot with a little. Now we're adding more administrative positions. We're adding more secretarial positions. I hear the exhaustion when we approve another position that's going to cost us more money. Our budget kind of gets blown up, whatever. But now we have a superintendent that, hey, listen, I admire his gumption in the job we're doing, but who in this district deserves 2 secretaries? And the answer is no. The fact that that is an MTA position receptionist that we're going to not fill and replace with confidential and not bargain it is something that I'm really concerned about. So that's why I filed the demand to bargain. Once I got the job description and I was able to review it, and I was able to review it with our executive board and then JDA, we went over it. This morning I filed the demand to bargain. The superintendent and I did speak, and I said, you know, if you could just table this, there's no rush. It starts September 1, so why can't we wait until August? Give us a chance to get around the table and have a conversation about it. And Mr. Baranado said, that's great, get your people together, and let's get on a Zoom in a couple hours and let's talk about it. 10-month employee. Our MTEA representatives are 10-month employees. I can't call people on a couple hours notice and say, leave your honeymoon, get out of the hot tub and come to negotiations because we have to talk. There's no rush to do this. There's a lot of rush and a lot of good things that are happening, but there's no rush to fill this position. There's also an unfair labor practice that was filed in 2004 that was settled through court in the association's favor. Mr. Monahan's name is actually on it. I know you've argued a million cases since then, so you might not remember it directly, but I'm going to send it over because I just found it an hour ago. and it deals with the creation of confidential positions. It involves the directors of the district pulling out of the Principal Supervisors Association, and then the secretaries and whether or not they would be confidential. So in that unfair labor practice, which I will send a copy of to everybody, it was deemed that those positions would not be confidential, they were returned to non-confidential, and there was also some other repercussions that were in there. But I'll send you the whole process that played out over the course of the year. It's not my intention to go through an unfair practice and all that other stuff. I'm asking to take the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is for this board to please table the approval of this new job description until we have a chance to exercise our demand to bargain and our right to bargain the outcome and the impact. And there's no reason why this couldn't be on the agenda for August. And the other issue is the fact that the job was posted internally but not externally. It's a big problem. Everybody should have the opportunity to apply for that because we're talking about getting rid of or leaving idle a receptionist position. And you know, somebody who wouldn't apply to be a receptionist, but maybe with this new confidential position that involves this extra work and presumably also some more money, there are qualified applicants that would apply for that. And particularly when I think about the board policy on equal employment opportunity, maybe there are candidates out there that we have an opportunity to maybe hire some more diversity within the district, which is something else we're missing. I don't agree with the position that's being posted internally. So those are just a couple of the issues that I have with this. It's a big problem, and my feeling is that overall that we need to just kind of slow down on some things. I respect a fresh set of eyes. I respect change for the better and looking at things and seeing if there's a better and more efficient way to do it. But everything is happening so fast, and this is something that feels very rushed. I heard about it right after graduation. Here we are in July looking to make it move. I think that this needs to be at a minimum tabled until we have a chance to sort it out between the association and the board. And with that, I see that. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Anyone else have anything they question on the agenda? All right, Mr. Lynch, do we have any old business or any correspondence?
We do not.
Okay, on to the action portion of the meeting here. Section 1, A minutes, numbers 1 and 2. Need a motion? Any discussion? Hearing none, call for roll call.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Serpent?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin? Ms. Winkler? Mr. P?
Yes. Letter B, ESEA grant approval, number 1. Need a motion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller? Mrs. Serpent? Ms. Winkler? Mr. P?
Yes. Letter C, Genesis agreement, number 1. Need a motion? Second. Any discussion?
Is Genesis what, Manchester Township School teachers are currently using for their lesson plans?
Yes.
Just continuation.
Yep.
Hearing no discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Serpent? Ms. Winkler? Mr. P?
Yes. Letter D, web quality assurance, number 1. Need a motion? Any discussion? What's a web governance? What are they going to be doing for us?
So it's a software we currently subscribe to, when it goes to scan our website, make sure that we're ADA compliant.
For what?
ADA.
ADA.
So, if there's a picture up, there's a text behind the picture, somebody has a screen reader, just really do a double check. A lot of hands involved in the website now, and it would be fine, if not done correctly. So that's why that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Roll call,
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
please.
Mrs. Serpent? Ms. Winkler? Mr. P?
Yes. Letter E, final site agreement, number 1. Motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Serpent? Mr. Merkin? Ms. Winkler? Mr. P?
Yes.
So,
Letter F, preschool expansion aid, number 1. Need a motion? Any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount,
No.
Mr. Keller, Mrs. Sarda, Ms. Winkler, Mr. P.
Yes. All right, letter G, maintenance reserve account withdrawal. Anyone? Need a motion? Second. All right, I have a question. Is this 31,000 just for the materials, and we're going to be doing the labor ourselves?
No, this is total cost for both projects. So the bathroom renovation is going to be about 20,000. And the installation will be about 11,000.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Staples,
Yes.
Ms. Mount, Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Sarda, Ms. Winkler, Mr. P.
Yes. Letter H, building renovation, SR2 and SRARP. One. And motion?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? When we do the window replacement, Rich, are we putting the film on it or we charge it there?
We haven't discussed that, but that's something we can take a look at.
You talk about like the graph analysis. You talk about the people listening film.
It's something we can discuss. It's not in the original scope. It's something we
Would SR cover that?
can, probably not. No, because it's not
Also shootings? Wow.
well, yes or no, there may be some other security stuff that comes down the road. We do get a security grant every year. Yeah.
Seems maybe replacing windows, we can replace some stuff. That's gonna be-
But we can probably do that on our own. Yeah, funding.
Okay, I would recommend we.
Okay.
And same thing, door replacements, anything that makes.
Yeah, the doors we definitely do. I don't believe you have holistic film on any of the classroom windows at this point. It's essentially larger areas, where if the glass was broken, they can enter the school. But if that's, that is something we can, as we continue to do security efforts.
I think it'd be a no-brainer. You can cover it.
I agree with Ken on that.
Okay.
Just the way the world is today. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Staples.
Yes.
Ms. Mount.
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher.
Yes.
Mrs. Servadac.
Yes.
Ms. Winkler.
Yes.
Mr. P.
Yes. Letter I, nursing agreement number 1, need a motion.
Motion.
Any discussion?
Can you just explain what this is?
Yeah, we have a medically fragile student that goes to an additional placement that needs a full-time.
So this nurse would just be with that student all day?
Yep.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Staples.
Yes.
Ms. Mount.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Servadac. Ms. Winkler. Mr. P.
Yes. Section 2A, administrative, number 1 through 7, need a motion? Vote.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Under number 2, the first reading and adoption of the following, policy 3216, rest and grooming. I just feel like, some of the stuff in here, could be discussed a little further. I've had people from the community, the Manchester teaching community reach out. I understand it says here that principals can make exceptions and allow staff to wear jeans, but, so that's fine, but my other concern is sneakers. My nephew's going to kindergarten and he has the potential to be a runner. So I feel like if a para or a special ed teacher, has runners, they're not going to do so good in loafers or boots. If they feel more comfortable wearing sneakers, somebody's foot hurts, I feel like, sneakers are not an appropriate thing for somebody to wear for their feet.
Would that be at the discretion of the principal? The principal, I don't think the principal has, I think the principal would be able to make that. I would think, I don't know.
Can I add something? Do you mind?
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, Gail, it says dress in the manner reflecting their assignments would be a big piece to that. So that's why when we say sneakers, obviously, if you're a physical education teacher, you're going to come in sneakers and shorts and things like that. If you have students that elope, you would probably dress in a manner in which you'd be able to, run after a student. I think we're just generally speaking, the policy and most of this policy, the revision, I only revised a few of the things that were part of the mandated update. That was always there and it's requisite to the assignment of the individual.
The other question too, is jewelry affixed to the nose, tongue, cheek, lip, or eyebrow? I understand that, you know, as professionals, we don't want people coming in with their faces to your stuff. I personally have a small stud in my nose, and I don't think it impacts me as an educator. I don't think my students respect me any less because of it. And so I don't know if we want to have a further conversation about that. I understand that we're not going to have teachers coming in with the whole face to your stuff, but like a small stud or a small ring in your nose, a tongue ring that probably wouldn't even be visual to most people.
I agree with you. I think that statement's there as a safety concern, because if someone's wearing a hoop and let's say you're in a classroom, like you just mentioned, the student could potentially grab it and rip it off their face. So I think that's what it's there for, but I'm not saying that it's there because we don't want them at all. Like you said, you know, having a stud is not the issue. It's the hoops and chains that could potentially be part of that piercing.
So that maybe change the language. I mean, I wear earrings that have hoops on it now, and I think some of those out of my ears.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I have earrings in now, and in a situation like that, you know, you could rip the earring out of my ear, or rip the stud out of my nose. So I just think that we should revisit this movie.
Okay, so let's put it up to a vote for the board.
Already discussed it before we second. Right. Okay, so we have some time, we have a month or so in here, we can discuss it. So we do the first reading tonight, we'll discuss it, and then come back and decide what we do for a second reading.
Well, I have issue with the 33. Yeah.
Which one?
Staff members do personal stuff. So I have the same issues I have with the board policy on this.
3322?
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think that it's needed to be micromanaging people's personal lives.
I'm sorry, Laura, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
John, do you, oh, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I was saying like part L with social networking tools on the policy 3322. I just bring up that we didn't approve the board's policy for this, so I personally don't want to approve it now. It seems like we're always watching, that's the vibe I got from it, like, you know. I mean, it was a general expectation that staff act professionally, and if they choose to act unprofessionally, then it becomes union and a superintendent issue. I think some of the language we revisited on this policy as well as.
Okay, here, once again, this is only a first reading, so we'll discuss it over the next meeting before we do a second reading. It doesn't come.
Well, it says approve the first reading and adoption.
But we do have to say, oh, it does say adoption, right? Right. So,
John, did you catch that?
No, I'm having a very hard time hearing everyone except for Craig. And
All right,
actually,
so-
you're being.
Yeah, so the discussion that was just had was their concern with the cell phone policy. They could use, they use some cell phones, staff use some cell phones.
Okay.
okay, would either one of you be here to make a motion to table these minutes? We can have a discussion now.
Everybody has people 32, 16, 33, 22, and I don't know if anybody here wants to deal with it.
Okay, so the motion right now is to table 3216 and 3332, 3322. Do I have a second on that? I second. All right, we have a roll call then.
Okay, we missed the staples. Okay, Ms. Now?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Winkler?
Yes.
Mr. Pete?
All right, so those two will be tabled. We can address them again at next month's meeting. All right. So the rest of the 1 through 7 here, with those two being tabled, any discussion on those?
Do we get to be part of the discussion before it becomes piece of paper in front of us again that we have to vote on? Like,
So we have,
We're the only ones.
I have, so I've never discussed any of this until I saw it, you know, never like part of the
No,
conversation.
we're the ones that tabled it, so we have to be the ones to discuss.
Okay.
Well, on number 5, do we want to talk about the confidential secretary position?
Can we talk about it there or under?
It's listed in little places, so job description, and then under.
So is the question, should we table the description? Is that your question?
Yeah.
But it's listed in the personnel section.
Listed, no, a person is named in the personnel.
The person
This is the job.
First and second motion, double, and then it's sub motion.
Can they move to
They
table?
can have anything they want, there is a motion.
All right, so we have to do a roll call.
On that motion to,
We already did that.
no, we have a motion to, table.
Right. And we did a roll call.
We did?
Yes.
I gotta wake up.
No, we already did a roll call.
I apologize.
That's okay. That's why I was confused here.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, we have a first and a second on the entire section of that, of this agenda, and we also have a motion, a second, and a vote on the two policies that we take.
So, Ms. Winger, you're saying now that we should make a motion to table this job description? Okay. Does anyone want to second that? I'll second. All right, may I have a roll call, please?
Okay, Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Winger? Mr. Payton?
All right, motion carries, that is tabled as well. I believe since they're tabled, they have to be addressed at the next public meeting, correct? So those three will have to be addressed at the next meeting. All right, so everything, section 2, administrative, 1 through 7, except for policies 3216, 3322, and the job description for the confidential secretary and superintendent that were tabled is up for a vote. All right, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Servant? Mr. Murphy? Oh, wait a minute. I say that out loud. Ms. Winger? Mr. Payton?
Yes. All right. B, personnel, numbers 1 through 39. I think it's logical right now that we will the table number 11, since there's not a job description for that. Appropriate? All right. So I need a motion to table number 11. All right. Any discussion on it? All right, let's have a roll call on the motion to table personnel number 11.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Servant? Ms. Winger? Mr. Payton?
Since we don't have a job description, I'll have to say yes, even though my initial agreement. All right, personnel 1 through 39. May I have a motion, please? All right, any discussion, any other 38 that are got out here? Hearing none, I'll call for roll call.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller? Mrs. Servant? Ms. Winger?
Abstain from 15 and 16. Abstain from Nicole Phelan, under 34. Abstain from Jessica Burton, under 34. And yes, everything else.
I'm sorry, what was the other one, Nicole? Okay, so I have, so you're abstaining on 15 and 16 and number 34 for Nicole and Jessica. Okay. And Mr. Payton?
Yes. All right, C, student personnel is number 42. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this old, tutoring that's over, or why is there a need in July for, another full instruction?
This is stuff after the last board meeting.
So this is just memorializing it.
Correct.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount?
Yes.
Mr. Keller? Mr. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Winger?
Yes.
Mr. Payton?
Yes. D, special services, number 1. Need a motion? Any discussion? Hearing none, call for roll call.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Servant? Ms. Winger?
Yes.
Mr. Payton?
Yes. E, athletics, number 1 and 2. Need a motion, please? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mr. Keller? Mrs. Servant? Ms. Winger? Mr. Payton?
Yes. Section 3, A, finance, numbers 1 through 5. May I have a motion, please? Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Staples?
Yes.
Ms. Mount? Mrs. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Surley, Ms. Winkler,
Yes.
and Mr. P.
Yes. All right, public participation on any non-agenda items at this point? Anyone have anything they'd like to share? Okay, see how we're coming forward. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion. All in favor? We will see you next month. Can't say September, that'd be a song.